Today we're talking about distance and midpoints on the coordinate plane. Hopefully you remember from algebra that the coordinate plane looks something like this, and it's just the plane we use with the x and y axes to plot points. We're going to use what's called the distance formula, which looks like this right here, to find the distance between 2 points on the coordinate plane. Now we see in this formula, we have variables x1, x2, y1, and y2. x1, y1 and x2, y2 are the two endpoints. Those are the 2 points that we're trying to find the distance between. We're going to start right off with an example to see how this works. I need to find the distance between 2, 3 and 4, -1. I'm going to start by plotting these points on my coordinate plane. For 2, 3, remember first we go over 2 and then we go up 3. That puts me right here. And for 4, -1, first we're going to go over 4 and then down 1. That puts me right here. And so I am trying to find the distance that I'm drawing in green. So to find the distance, the first thing I want to do is find and label my endpoints with the variables in my distance formula. I'm going to call 2 x1, and I'm going to call 3 y1. I'm going to call 4 x2, and I'll call -1 y2. Notice it's very important here that in each endpoint, the numbers match. I have x1 and y1 as one endpoint, and x2 and y2 as the second endpoint. The second thing I need to do is use my distance formula to find the distance. This box method is a great way to help figure out where things go. So from my formula up here, I can see that my first box needs to be x1, which I've assigned to be 2. The next box should be x2, which I've assigned as 4. The third box should be y1, which is 3. And the last box is y2, which I've assigned as -1. And from here, it's just some algebra. I'm just going to simplify this a little bit. In the first parentheses, I have 2 minus 4. In the second set of parentheses, I have 3 minus -1, which is the same as saying 3 plus 1 because of that double negative. Now, you can plug this step right into your calculator, or you can do the work out by hand, but either way, you'll get an answer of about 4.47. The next important concept is a midpoint on the coordinate plane. We've talked about midpoints for segments, and this is very similar. If you remember, the midpoint is the point that divides the segment into 2 congruent or equal segments. Congruent, which means they are equal. That means it splits the segment exactly in half. So we use this midpoint formula right here to find the midpoint between 2 points on the coordinate plane. Similar to the distance formula, notice how we have an x1, an x2, a y1, and a y2 in our formula, and the x1, y1 is one endpoint, and the x2, y2 is the other endpoint. Those are both the endpoints of our segment. We're going to jump right into an example again to see how this works. So here we want to find the midpoint between 3, 4 and 9, 6. I have that segment drawn on my coordinate plane here, and I'm going to take a guess. I would say maybe the midpoint would be right around here. That looks like the middle of that segment. We'll do the math and see if we're right. Just like last time, the first thing I want to do is find and label my endpoints. I'm going to call 3 x1, and 4 is going to be y1. 9 will be x2, and 6 will be y2. Remember again, in each pair, in each endpoint, the numbers need to match, and we have one x and one y. So x1, y1 is a pair, and x2, y2 is the other pair, the other endpoint. The second thing I need to do is use my midpoint formula. I'm going to use this box method again to find what I need to know. If you look at my midpoint formula up here, I can see that the first box needs to be filled in with x1, which I called 3. My second box, x2, is 9. My third box, y1, is 4. And my fourth box, y2, is 6. From here, I could plug each of those two fractions into my calculator to solve, or I can do my work by hand. Either way, I'm going to get 6, 5. Now notice 6, my x value, is just halfway between the endpoint x values, halfway between 3 and 9. Same thing with the y's, 5 is halfway between 4 and 6. That's how I get the midpoint, 6, 5. Now if I go back and look at my guess from earlier, I can see that I was actually right. This point is 6, 5, over 6 up 5. That was my guess, and that's my midpoint, and we can see that on the graph.